What does it take to be great?
How will you be remembered?
Like this. From a small town ball field in a neighborhood gym.
From Friday night lights to championship fights.
Celebrated from the banks of Louisiana bayous and across the vast oceans.
That he does make it.
From local hero to global icon.
Standing with giants.
Welcome to the Shrine, where the elite are forever immortalized and admired.
Look out! Here in Natchitoches, the home of greatness.
This
is the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the home of my alma mater, Northwestern State University, Natchitoches, Louisiana, for the 2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame celebration. Well, I'm Dorothea Wilson from Louisiana Public Broadcasting, and for the first time ever, we are broadcasting live. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the only time, other than when you're taking a picture or two, for you to take out your cell phone and text everyone that you know and tell them to start watching right now.
You bet, Dorothea. My name's Teddy Allen. I'm with the Louisiana Sports Writers Association. I've been doing this for several years. This is my 20th year to serve as host, and my first year to have a co-host. Thank God you're here. I'm only half as scared as I usually am. I've done this for Jerry Pierce. I've been pinch hitting for the father of the Hall of Fame for 2 decades. It's been a joy and an honor. As Mr. Pierce would say, it's time to let her rip, tater chip. We're not going to mess around. This is one of our favorite parts of the Hall of Fame. I think you'll enjoy this. This is a homecoming for past Hall of Famers to come back to Natchitoches, so I need you to get your applause caps on, start cheering as Hall of Fame broadcaster Lynn Rollins takes us down the Walk of Legends.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet these distinguished members of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. A trailblazing neurosurgeon whose research on concussions and brain injuries has made the sports world a safer place. From Natchitoches, Dr. Julian Bales. A longtime NCAA basketball official who has called 5 Final Fours. Also the retired City of Lafayette Recreation Director and now a very distinguished state senator, Gerald Boudreaux. 52 state championships in track and field and cross country at Catholic High School in Baton Rouge. A member of the National High School Hall of Fame, a coach's coach, Pete Boudreaux. A national network television broadcaster since the mid-1980s and an untiring promoter of his home state and its sports heroes. From Shreveport and ULM, the first winner of the Louisiana Sports Ambassador Award, Timmy B. Tim Brando. 43 seasons guiding LSU gymnastics from infancy to national powerhouse. Tonight, she becomes the proud coach of 2 Hall of Famers with April Burkholder's induction, the living LSU legend. From Donaldsonville, D.D. Bro. The CEO and president of the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, whose fingerprints are on every major sporting event in the Crescent City, including the Super Bowl last February. A Shreveport native, Jay Cicero. The only American to win 2 Olympic medals in the high jump. A 3-time NCAA champion for the Ragin' Cajuns. His American record clearance still stands, 7 feet, 10.5 inches. Shreveport native from Lafayette, Hollis Conway. 6th nationally in the history of all high school sports in America, having coached 68 state championship teams in cross country and track. From Mamou and Episcopal High in Baton Rouge, Clanny Duplichamp. His 43 years coaching baseball at Grambling, 30 as head coach, but his impact goes far past his tremendous coaching resume. He's the second ever winner of the Louisiana Sports Ambassador Award from Grambling State University, a molder of young men and women, Wilbert Ellis. In the sport of tennis, as a U.S. Open court official for 34 years, in the umpire's chair for a dozen years, an Alexandria native, Marie Gagnard. The second winningest high school football coach in state history. 447 wins, never a losing record in 49 seasons. Danny Broussard's colleague at St. Thomas More in Lafayette, Jim Hightower. A three-time individual national championship gymnast at LSU, a 12-time All-America, and the Honda National Gymnast of the Year as a senior in 2010, Susan Action Jackson. The state's first girls high school basketball player to make the Parade All-America team, then a two-time All-America player from dynamic coach and athletic director at Louisiana College, from Pitkin, now living in Pineville, Sheila Thompson Johnson. The Ruston Rifle, an LSU All-America, a #1 pick in the NFL draft, the 1976 NFL Most Valuable Player from Ruston and LSU, Bert Jones. A world-class sprinter who represented the United States in international competition after an All-America career for the Ragin' Cajuns before he became an NFL receiver from New Orleans, Harold Porter. A three-time All-America linebacker from Northwestern State University, a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, twice a Super Bowl champion in the NFL with the Giants, Gary Reasons. A product of the Bush Tracks, who rose to stand among America's greatest thoroughbred jockeys with 4,200 wins in a 35-year career, a 1988 Breeders' Cup winner, and the 2004 George Wolf Jockey Award recipient. From Sunset, Ray Sabile. 401 wins, 8 NCAA tournament appearances, and 8 conference championships as the wildly successful coach at ULM, Mike Vining. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Hall of Fame's newest members. Let's meet the class of 2025. He ranks 6th nationally all-time among high school boys basketball coaches. 1,162 career wins and counting in 42 seasons. 11 state final appearances. 6 state championships for his Cougars. From Lafayette and St. Thomas More, Danny Broussard. A 14-time All-America gymnast for LSU after 4 sensational seasons ending in 2006 when she capped her Tiger career with the NCAA Beam Championship. Only the 4th gymnast enshrined in our Hall of Fame. From LSU and Houston, April Burkholder. Impactful far beyond his award-winning and extensive television sports coverage in New Orleans, a champion of high school sports in Louisiana, represented by his wife Robin, the late Ed Daniels. He's won multiple national sports writing awards and is known as one of the South's most colorful writers and best reporters. From New Orleans, and now his adopted hometown of Baton Rouge, Glenn Guilbeau. After a sensational high school career up the road in Red River Parish, she became a two-time All-America and helped recharge the powerful Lady Texters basketball program before starting in the WNBA and making 2 All-Star games in a 13-year career in the W. Now a coach from Coshada and Louisiana Tech, Vickie Johnson. If you've loved LSU football this century, he's the first person to thank, breathing life into a struggling program all the way to 2 SEC titles and the 2003 National Championship, and laying the foundation for all of the success since, college football's greatest coach from LSU, Nick Saban. Five Junior College World Series and more than 1,200 career wins, tops in state college baseball history. Still going strong after 34 seasons. Tonight he joins his dad Rags in the Hall of Fame from New Orleans, Tulane and Delgado Community College, Joe Scheuermann. Louisiana's greatest amateur boxer, a 4-time state championship from Sacred Heart of Bill Platt, then the 1956 NCAA champion, and later a state champion football coach at his alma mater, represented by his son Robert George Bobby Soileau. An innovative and nationally acclaimed college sports communicator who became a dynamic administrator at his alma mater in Baton Rouge, and for the last 12 years, the Associate Commissioner of the SEC, the Dave Dixon Louisiana Sports Leadership Award, Herb Vincent. He took a downtrodden Catholic High Bears football program and turned it into one of the state's perennial powerhouses in 30 seasons, the state's 6th winningest prep coach with 317 victories, represented on stage by his son Neil, but here with us tonight in the audience from Baton Rouge, Dale Weiner. And wrapping up the class of 2025, a 2-time national champion and 3-time state champion at West Monroe High School. A starting tackle as a sophomore on LSU's 2003 national champion football team. 4 Pro Bowls in a 16-season NFL career, capped by the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award for community service. And 3 days later, a Super Bowl champion in his last game. From Monroe and West Monroe, Andrew Big Whit Whitworth. Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for our incoming Hall of Famers.
How about another round of applause for that 2025 class, everybody? Wow, what a special night here in Natchitoches, Louisiana. I'm Ronnie Rance, the CEO.
president and of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Foundation. We appreciate you taking the time to be here from all over the state of Louisiana. It's such a great job to have selecting these great Hall of Famers. The hardest part is picking the 8 or 12, not getting those great, those difficult choices. Imagine being the CEO of the state of Oklahoma or, you know, Kansas or something like that. Louisiana is so blessed with some great talent. We're going to have an awesome time tonight. Well, we're going to get this party started right from a guy who played baseball with a small ball. We're going to a much bigger ball. She was a superstar on the hardwood. Take a look at Miss Vickie Johnson.
Crossing over the Red River on Louisiana Highway 371, you'll approach a large sign that reads, "Welcome to Coshada, home of champions." Here, Vickie Johnson began her journey to basketball greatness.
Vickie Johnson was a legendary high school player. He was just always in the paper, and everyone always talked about, man, where's this girl gonna go to college? Hope he'll be a Louisiana Tech.
And sure enough, Coach Leon Barmore's Lady Texters came calling.
Coach Barmore said that while he has coached so many great players in his career at Louisiana Tech, she might be the most important signee we ever had. She was easy to coach.
From Coshada, Louisiana, Vickie Johnson.
Fitting right into that storied tradition, Vickie was a two-time Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year and led the Lady Texters in scoring for 3 straight seasons.
Burlock finds Johnson.
Vickie was just hard to stop, and she was a left-handed guard that could knock down a shot up from mid-range, 3-point.
That was a great play by Vickie Johnson.
You know, Vickie came during an era where there really wasn't professional basketball in the United States, and then the WNBA evolved.
She was a founding member of the WNBA, selected by the New York Liberty in 1997, the league's inaugural season.
The thing I remember most about meeting Vickie Johnson was her forearm in my hip, and a reality check of, oh man, she's really, really strong.
She became the first player in WNBA history to collect 4,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists in a career that spanned 13 seasons.
I got a lot of points off of her passes, I know that, so I helped her in the assist category, and she helped me in the points category.
Vickie Johnson the other way for the easy 2.
From there, she transitioned into coaching, beginning with the San Antonio Stars as an assistant and then head coach. She would make coaching stops with the Las Vegas Aces, Dallas Wings, Atlanta Dream, and Team USA.
Vickie Johnson has left her mark both on the court as a player, but also as a coach.
A trailblazer, mentor, and pioneer, Vickie Johnson's career reflects excellence, resilience, and a lifelong dedication to raising the bar for women's basketball.
She just excelled in everything that she did. Everything about her is first class.
She's a good one. I don't think they make them like VJ anymore. She's definitely one of a kind.
Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Vickie Johnson.
Well, first of all, congratulations, Vickie. It is such an honor for you to be with us here today.
Yeah.
When we were talking off camera, you told me a fascinating story about how you got your start in basketball. It was really, you wanted to prove to your brother that girls can play basketball.
Exactly. It started at the age of 9. My cousin and my brother was out there playing, and I wanted to play. And he was like, you know, basketball is for guys. You know, go in the house, because I don't want you to get hurt and stuff like that. And I secretly practiced for like 5-6 months, because I knew the opportunity would present itself again. And so when it did, one Saturday, they were ready to play 2-on-2, but they only had 3 players. And so I was lurking in the wing. And so he allowed me to play. And then from that moment on, he just put me under his wing and helped me to get where I am today. Also, my Uncle John also was a big part of who I am today, and my brother passed the torch, and my uncle took the reign. He took me to new heights. And when I graduated from Louisiana, from Coshada, I mean, I was the #1 player in the country from a small town, Coshada, 30 minutes away from here, and so proud for those moments.
Love this story about how you came to play for Louisiana Tech. At first you thought, well, this is a long shot, and it was your mother that put the game on and called you in the house and said, come watch this. And from that moment, you were in love with that. You were like, these are my people. This is my team.
For sure. When I first started playing, like I said, I wanted to prove to my brother that basketball wasn't just for guys, that girls could play and we could play at a high level. At the age of 9, again, my mom called me in and said, hey, some women playing on TV, and so I came in, and after the game, I was in awe. It was Louisiana Tech and USC. Kim Oki was on that team. Coach Kim was on that team, and I told my mom, I said, you know, one day I'm gonna play for that team in blue. And she said, why? I said, because I love the stars, and one day I'm gonna be a star.
And that you are, but you're a good human, and you're really about paying it forward. Mm-hmm. And this award, you were very humble when you found out that you were being inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and you didn't want it to be about you. You actually wanted it to be about the people along your journey, your mother, your grandmother, your brother, your coaches.
For sure. My mom passed away in 2016. She was the one that allowed me to dream, and dream big. And also, when you make a commitment, you stick to that commitment. I know it was a moment at Louisiana Tech. Coach Bormer got on me, coaching me hard. So I called my mom and I said, hey, you know, this guy's crazy. You know, I need to leave. And she said, let me ask you these 3 questions. I said, yes, ma'am. She was like, you wanted to go to Louisiana Tech, right? And I was like, yes, ma'am. She's like, you signed a scholarship, right? And I was like, yes, ma'am. She said, you at Louisiana Tech, right? I said, yes, ma'am. She's well, stay your ass there. And that was it. And then my grandmother is the one, and my grandmother, I had 3 ladies like that really helped me along the way. My grandmother covered me and told me about God, and wherever I am in life, you know, just trust God, and He'll always be there to protect you. And so I carried that with me. When I went overseas for the first time, she didn't want me to go. And God spoke to her and said, you know, I'm everywhere. So I will cover her as well. And then my high school principal, she was the one, she's not here with us, but her sister and nieces and daughters, they're here. She the one gave me she showed me new possibilities. She's an alumni for Louisiana Tech, and she took me to my first game, and we traveled many nights up and down the roads. And so I'm so grateful for what she did. But my whole family, the man in my family have protected me and still protect me to this day. And my cousin, I have a lot of cousins and stuff out there, and it's just truly a blessing. So when I walk across this stage and I sit here, it's not because of me. It's because of my family, my mom, my grandmother, my high school principal, my Uncle John, my brother, my wife, my beautiful wife and daughter. It's everyone. So I'm sitting here with this jacket representing Louisiana Tech, Coshada, all my homeboys who I played with. I'm just so honored to be here today.
You know, and that is a secret sauce to Louisiana world-class athletes. It's the people, right? It's that foundation of love and support and strength and grit and determination. but most of all, the character building. And that has been your journey. Now, I got to ask you, what's next for you? So you're taking a break right now from coaching, like your first break since what, 1997?
97.
Like a long time.
Yeah.
And congratulations
Thank you.
on your marriage,
Thank
December
you.
7th.
December
So
7th.
lots to celebrate.
Sure.
What's next for you?
I still want to coach.
Okay.
We have teams coming into the WNBA, and I think every NBA team will have a WNBA team, and so I definitely want to be a head coach. But as I sit out this summer, I just want to continue to inspire young, athletes, especially women. We sacrificed so much in '97 for this young generation, and now having the opportunity to watch them on TV. I can truly say I love being courtside versus on the sofa watching, but I'm so proud. I'm so proud. When we started the league in '97, to be honest, like, we just wanted to be in the room. We just wanted to be in the room. And then now this generation, they're in the room, they have a voice. They're sitting at the table, they have a voice. And I envision in 10 years, we will not only be in the room with a voice, but we will control the room.
Well, Vickie Johnson, we thank you so much for being a trailblazer in
Thank
women's
you.
basketball. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to meet our next inductee, Catholic High coach, football coach, Dale Weiner. And honor for me, personal story, I attended the sister school, St. Joseph's Academy, while he was laying the foundation for the legacy he has built. So let's take a look.
Dale Weiner is the definition of a man who has the heart of a champion and the humbleness of a servant.
For Dale Weiner, you can't separate faith from the rest of him. Every game began with prayer. Every game ended with prayer.
He was just a tremendous leader, just very consistent, very giving of himself.
Dale began his coaching career in 1975 as an assistant under Hall of Famer Jim Hightower at Catholic High of Point Capee. Coaching stops would follow at Trafton Academy and St. John of Plaquemine. But in 1986, he took over a mediocre Catholic of Baton Rouge program.
My very first year as principal, we were 0-4. And I remember going up to him and saying, Dale, if you don't win this next game, they're going to run both me and you out of here, so you've got to do something.
Twins right, wham right on one.
The rest is history.
At times, I challenged him as a coach because I never did things the way that he wanted me to do them, but he was someone that I built a relationship with, that I came to love and trust.
He taught determination, fight, and resilience, instilling a mantra known throughout the CHS community as the Cur Dog.
To be a Cur Dog is to live life genuinely and to the fullest every day. Line G, which means there's a thin line between guts and glory.
Every Friday, we would get a letter from the Cur Dog and read it there in the cafeteria. There was a lot of speculation on whether those letters were written by him or by the actual Cur Dog himself.
He led the Bears to 18 district titles, 15 state quarterfinals, 8 semifinals, and to the Prep Pinnacle, claiming the school's first state football championship in 2015.
Dale Weiner changed the course of the football program at Catholic High School.
His legacy in high school football is rooted deep in a commitment to community.
He was the head football coach at Catholic High, which is a big deal, but at the same time, he did not carry himself that way.
His absolute belief that God was in control and that God was going to lead them to where they needed to be.
Forever a Cur Dog, shaping the lives of young people into lasting legacies.
He challenged us, but most importantly, he cared and he wanted the best for us.
The way he brings community together is what Louisiana is and what Louisiana is through and through.
Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Dale Weiner.
for you, Neil. Congratulations, Coach. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, the head coach at the Dunham School and Dale's son who's going to talk to us, Coach Neil Weiner. Neil, welcome. How much fun is that, reminiscing?
That was a lot of fun, especially seeing some of those old Catholic Point Compete Trafton days. Those shorts are pretty short on those guys.
You think about what your dad did, and he was with Jim Hightower. I'll take the two of them and anybody else you want to put on the staff and go against you anytime. 9 out of 10, we're leaving with a win. That's a power staff right there.
That's pretty impressive right there. There's no doubt. I've played my dad before. I said if it comes down to the players, my team's going to win. If it comes down to coaching, we got no shot.
Did you always want to be a coach and think about getting into what you're doing right now, or were you steered there because of watching what your dad was doing?
Yeah, 100%. Watching my dad as a young kid, and my mom should probably get credit because I think about age 3, she had enough of me and said, "You're going with your dad when he goes to school." I got to go to school with my dad every day, watch him practice, see how much fun, how much joy he had in doing what he knew he was called to do. And who doesn't want to be like that?
When you think of the memories, and I'm watching the video, when I first started in TV in Baton Rouge, I think my first year in, he had a backfield of Warwick Dunn and Kevin Franklin. And then Travis Minor comes through, and then Major Applewhite. And then it was just a cavalcade of stars. But even on the teams where he didn't have that one big superstar, he got them playing at a superstar level. What are your memories when you were young on the sideline with him that you think back of?
Yeah, I really had a unique perspective, you know, as a 10-year-old, as a ball boy in that 1987 season. You know, they played the Jamboree. They hadn't had a winning season in who knows how long. And they tied it up on the last play of the game. And they went for 2. Well, they brought it within 1. And they went for 2 for the win and got it. And the school went nuts. And it was just a Jamboree. It didn't even count. And to be able to see the excitement that he generated and the belief that right there really catapulted was pretty special. And then to be a player and experience it myself, not just that I got to be coached by a Hall of Fame coach, but to be coached by my dad was special. And then when I graduated, I went back as a part-time assistant, and to be able to work for him for a couple of seasons, I learned an incredible amount.
You know, and it's some of those matchups, and maybe Andrew could speak to it, Andrew Whitworth, when he was at West Monroe, because there would be those matchups of a West Monroe or an Evangel coming down to play Catholic. Memorial Stadium, if you're not used to it in Baton Rouge, one of the bigger public stadiums there, I mean, we're talking 20, 25,000 would pack up there to see your dad's teams play.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of entertainment, you know.
Yes, it was.
He had a great style of kind of being that riverboat gambler, lots of trick plays, really opening up the offense and using the players that he had. And so it made a lot of fun for people to cheer for them as they were building the program.
When you're on a weekend like this and you hear so many accolades about your dad, you hear other coaches telling the stories, what you've experienced personally, what's your biggest takeaway of his influence, not only on coaches and on players, former, current, but the state of high school football in Louisiana that your dad has such a large footprint on?
Yeah, there's so many great coaches, so many great men and women across the state in our different sports. But, you know, the sport of football, you know, it kicks off the school year. You know, it starts the year in high school sports, and so it's so valuable, important, and getting people excited. And being here this weekend and seeing so many people come up and just share such fun memories of my dad when he maybe was a younger coach, maybe they were coached by him. It means a lot to our whole family to get to experience that.
One thing I remember covering him, tough wins, tough losses, blowout wins, blowout losses. He was very even keel. That was him as a coach that we got to see. Is that also him as a dad around your household?
100%, 100%. He was rock steady all the time. And, you know, my dad is my hero. He never makes mistakes. I wanted to be just like him. And even when I could screw up everything, he just, unconditional love was poured out, him and my mom. But to be able to watch him in the way that he loved my mom, the way that he loved my sisters, the way that he raised us, is absolute inspiration.
Well, from an outsider's point of view, because I've seen you coaching at Dunham, there are a lot of similarities. The way you handle the team, the way he handled his team. I remember when they got off a bus, it was always in a line, helmet underneath. I mean, it was just very clean, very professional. One of your biggest takeaways from him coaching to how you coach is what?
Yeah, I use a little philosophy with my kids on the program. We talk about the what, the how, and the why. Like, if you want to be good, there's certain things you have to do. It takes what it takes. You got to practice. You got to watch film. You got to take care of your nutrition. You got to lift weights. But it's how you do it that has so much more value. it's that process. Coach Saban's ears probably perked up here at process. But it's so true. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Can you do it with excellence on a daily basis and do it when nobody's watching? And that's what my dad did. But it's the why behind it, what makes it so special, because there's a purpose behind it. He saw coaching as a calling. He felt like it was his job to reflect Christ's love to his players and to his coaches and to his school and to point people back to Christ. And I think that's why Catholic High had so much success, because when Dale Weiner with that mission and Catholic High with their mission came together, you got 30 years of excellence. And even from there, they've had 3 or 4 more state championships that have occurred over the last decade.
Well, you can tell he and Jim Hightower coach together, same philosophies, the way they approach it, the way they do with the kids. I'm glad you were here to enjoy the weekend for him, and we are so blessed that your dad is here with us. God bless you, Coach. Congratulations. Neil, thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Head coach Dale Weiner and Neil Weiner, everybody.
Great job. Thank you, man.
Congratulations, Team Weiner. Beautiful. Hey, give yourselves a hand tonight. Y'all are part of a record crowd. Almost 900 people in here. That's pretty good. We started in the late 1950s. Y'all are also the best looking bunch we've ever had. Don't tell the previous 70 crowds. Everybody doing okay so far? Anybody cramping? You need an orange slice, Big Wit? You good? Okay, we're going to keep powering through then. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame wouldn't be possible without the LSWA. That's the Louisiana Sports Writers Association. For decades, they've been the driving force between selecting each Hall of Fame class. It is not easy because y'all are from an athletically so rich state. Through this next video, another one put together by the multi-talented Christopher Lecoq and his team, let's learn more about the selection process for the Sports Hall of Fame.
The vision of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame began in the 1950s, when a group of sports writers knew that covering Louisiana athletics was more than just box scores and bylines, but also preserving the state's rich sports heritage. A glance along the museum's wall of honor, you'll find the likes of Barmore, Brando, and Beard.
To be able to come back home, being around good people that, were at the very beginning of this journey with me is something pretty special.
Icons like Scott, Sabile, Simmons, from cowboys to rifles and pistols. Each year at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame committee selection meeting, an ever-expanding list of names is discussed, dissected, and analyzed.
Each year we study a ballot nearly 30 pages long, and we narrow it down to roughly a third of that to go into a meeting room somewhere. It's a very challenging process, even up to the day of the selection.
This discussion not only includes the state's great athletes, but also colleagues, leaders, and trendsetters. Scooter, Mad Dog, The Professor, and Grits. Much like the selection process, the annual celebration to honor the newest class of inductees has also evolved through the years.
Well, Natchitoches Louisiana Country Club, the scene of the 1990 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction.
Who can forget Vida, Mulkey, Rags, Conway, Landry, and Shaquille? All part of an elite fraternity, a time capsule into Louisiana's sports history, curated by a group of writers who share a passion for excellence.
There are some astounding people who have not yet been elected because of the depth of great, not good, but great elite sports figures.
To share more about the role that the Louisiana Sports Writers Association plays with the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is John Marquez. Now, John, first of all, congratulations on your presidency.
Thank you. This weekend will mark 1 year since I became president. It's one of the highlights of my professional career. I've been a member of the Sports Writers since the early 1990s, and without a doubt, any member of the Louisiana Sports Writers Association will tell you one of the highest honors you can be as part of the Hall of Fame selection committee. It's also probably one of the most difficult tasks we do every year, because if you saw the ballot, just the people that are nominated but do not get elected, that alone would be one of the greatest Hall of Fames in this country. So we are talking about the cream of the cream and the lead of the lead here in Louisiana, and it's something that everyone should be proud of.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we are having a great time, aren't we? Well, each year, Louisiana Sports Writers Association, they honor one of their own with a Distinguished Service Award in Sports Journalism. And this next Hall of Famer, he has 15,000 cited articles in his career. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Glenn Guilbeau.
Glenn Guilbeau knows sports. He's been a writer for local and national publications for 4 decades.
I just think Glenn is one of the top journalists that I've ever met in my lifetime in sports.
He has contributed to The Advocate, Tiger Rag Magazine, Gannett, Louisiana, the Montgomery Advertiser, and USA Today, just to name a few.
He is consistent in what he's done for years, and he never seemed to me to be really concerned about any criticism one way or the other or any praise.
Guilbeau is known for his candid style of writing and sometimes sharing opinions that fans cannot easily digest.
And it wasn't always, bells and whistles about our program, but I always respected Glenn because I always felt he was fair.
As a writer or a journalist, you should never want the team to win or to lose.
That's right.
You shouldn't pull for either.
One of his most recent accomplishments is authoring the book Everything Matters in Baseball, which chronicles the life of Hall of Famer Skip Bertman.
This guy's not just a talented sports writer, TV.
Saban had players who really didn't like him.
Podcast.
Yeah, well, I know you're going to say that.
He can do so many things.
Tonight, he joins an elite list of colleagues as we honor him with the Distinguished Service Award in Sports Journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Glenn Guilbeau.
Congratulations, Glenn.
Thank
Fresh
you.
off of covering the LSU Tigers at the College World Series back here to Natchitoches to get into the Hall of Fame. How's the weekend been for you?
Most of the Knicks players liked him, okay? There was just a couple. It was really just a couple of dudes. I just happened to talk to them.
That's right.
No, it's been a great week. It's been a lot of fun.
Good. Congratulations to you. What drew you to journalism and specifically to sports writing and journalism? Was there ever another path you thought about going down?
Not really. About 7th or 8th grade, I found myself reading the Times-Picayune all the time, missing the bus sometimes because I wanted to read one more paragraph. And my dad was a big LSU fan. He was an original New Orleans Saints ticket holder, so I went to those games as a kid in 1968. And my mom was an English teacher, and I liked English classes, so it just kind of made sense and seemed like it would be fun to write and talk about sports all the time.
I know one of the things that keeps you on your toes right now is this the new thing of the transfer portal. You were kind of the OG of the transfer, because let me make sure I got it right. LSU, and then you went to UNO, and then you went to Missouri to come back to LSU to then go back to Missouri. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you were transfer portal all the way and accepted first go around. Why all the bouncing around?
Well, I didn't make more money with each trip. That's for sure. But no, I wanted to go to the University of Missouri out of high school. My high school journalism teacher, Mike Boudreau, suggested it, and my mom wanted me to go to LSU for the first year and save some out-of-state tuition, but I think she was hoping I would stay home. But then I went to Missouri for a couple of years. Then I got a job with Paul Manasseh at LSU Sports Information, so I wanted to spend a little time there. I went to UNO just to get the GPA up after that first semester at LSU. That was just a summer, just to get a class. It was a history of New Orleans class. Got an A. So got that GPA
Thank goodness.
up. Yeah.
Since you were from down there too, it's a good thing you got.
Of course,
that
I
one
already
right.
knew the history of New
That's
Orleans,
right.
but that was good. So then finished at Missouri, and started work at the Tiger Rag in Baton Rouge.
As we heard in the video, you're very confident in your writing. Some people will say that that's a negative. Some people say that they want even more of that. How did you develop that style, and does it bother you for those who take that negative approach with your writing style, your writing approach, if it will?
Well, I've never spoken to a psychologist or an analyst about this, but I was a Saints fan, and went from like age 7 on, and they didn't have a winning season until I was like 26. Okay, and I just remember when I was 14 in 1975, the Saints moved to the Dome, and they went 2-12. And that same year, my team, the Astros, finished 40 games out of first place. So ask me why I'm negative every now and then.
All right, so let's see. Check off throwing UNO under the bus, the Saints under the bus, the Astros.
Not Nick. I didn't throw Nick under the bus.
No. The video mentioned that you did a book with Skip Bertman. Assuming he is one, who are some of the more memorable sports people, whether it's coaches, players, or you have come across in your career?
Well, I was really lucky. I mean, I got to cover the greatest baseball coach of all time, probably, in Skip Bertman. And then at the same time, while he was athletic director, I got to cover the greatest football coach of all time in Nick Saban. I covered a great basketball coach in John Brady, who took LSU to the Final Four. And JB was the only coach I ever covered who actually invited me to some of the parties he threw. A Final Four party, a party on St. Charles Avenue, you know, so JB was cool wherever you are. And I enjoyed covering John. But Skip and Nick were really, really special because they're both really teachers. And they just kind of left a lasting influence on me, I think.
I have a feeling I know the answer based on the story you just told about your parents with tickets and what we saw in the video, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you have a standout event that you've covered in your career?
Well, you know, the 2003 national championship at LSU was really something because they had not done that in my lifetime. I was born in 1961. My dad was talking all the time about the 58 national championship with Paul Dixon. So that 2003 championship was really cool. And Paul Dixon was at that game. I saw him before the game, so that was really nice. And then I covered Skip Bertman's last national championship in 2000, also for the Baton Rouge Advocate at the time, so that was something.
Anything that happened in Miami you had fun with? South Florida, late 2000,
yes.
2009, maybe 2010?
I spent a week in Fort Lauderdale covering the Super Bowl with the Saints in 2009. Me and another reporter and a photographer all in the same hotel room for a week. But that was awesome because it came after Katrina, a few years after Katrina, and it really turned around the city. That was a great memory.
Well, congratulations on all of the writings, all of the experiences. We appreciate you sharing it, and we appreciate sharing this weekend with you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hall of Famer Glenn Guilbeau, everybody. One year ago, teams out in California, we were all in the media business. We're all shocked and saddened when we heard of a heart attack that had gotten one of our own in Ed Daniels. As we know, the heart attack eventually took Ed from us way, way too soon. He loved covering his sports in New Orleans. He loved covering LSU. He just loved his job, loved sports. He was also a dedicated member of the crew of Endymion, and I mean dedicated. I rode in the crew of Endymion with him for over 20 years, and if you knew Ed, he had a staccato about his talking and his approach. Side note, I'm a junior. Most people call my dad Vic, and I'm Victor. But when I would see Ed at a game or in the press box, Ed, how you doing? Hey, Vic, how many beads you got for the parade this year? He always wanted to make sure he had more than I did, or were we getting the right size to get ready for the ride. He enjoyed the experience. He enjoyed the celebration in New Orleans. But one thing he enjoyed more than anything else was high school sports. What he did for high school sports, not only in the city of New Orleans, greater southern Louisiana, but the state in general. My very first show, when I graduated LSU and finished up in 1990-91, was a one-year show called Sportsline Friday Night, the basketball edition. And I did it with Ed when he was in between jobs in the city of New Orleans. But to grow his high school football show, to then get to high school tournaments and the Sugar Bowl Classic, he had an unwavering passion for high school sports, and it's second to none. for what he did. We all miss him. We miss him terribly, and we are honored that he is tonight being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Please watch this video for Ed Daniels.
Hi, and welcome to Week 5 of Friday Night Football and the regular season. In a city known for its larger-than-life culture, Ed Daniels was the epitome of that as a sportscaster.
Hello and welcome to Saint Sideline. I'm Ed Daniels.
Ed Daniels set the gold standard for being a sportscaster in the state of Louisiana at every level.
He was dedicated and making phone calls, taking notes. The man eat, breathe sports.
Throughout his career, Ed covered it all, from the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans.
No, Jesse, look. It's a punch, then a blade.
LSU.
It was an incredible season.
To Super Bowls, Final Fours, and the College World Series.
And it carried those Tigers all the way to Omaha.
He put us on the air, and he made people aware that junior college athletics is a viable option.
I would consider him to be like a Nick Saban.
All right, let's talk about one of the big stories of the night.
His work ethic was unbelievable. So whether it was prep, whether it was professional, whether it was college, Ed was going to be there.
But his true passion was high school sports.
For tonight's Teen Report, we go down and make a right on Claiborne, left on Elysian Fields to Brother Martin.
He liked the purity of it. He recognized people who ordinarily may not have ever been recognized for doing something good.
But above all, it was his humility to his colleagues, his profession, his city, which set him apart.
Hi, and welcome to Know-It-Alls, the game where it really does pay to know New Orleans.
What he did was a service to the community. People don't think about sportscasters doing that, but he knew why what we did was important.
We're gonna miss Ed's knowledge of prep sports, from the littlest stats to the biggest moments. That's what we lost.
Send us home. Good night for all of us at WGNO Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's honor the legacy of Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Ed Daniels. We share this message from longtime friend and LSWA member Ken Trahan and Ed's wife, Robin Daniels.
We met in high school, Archbishop Rummel, 15 years old, and we were instantly drawn to each other because we had the same interests. We understood each other probably better than anyone else, given what we were interested in and what we would eventually pursue. Later on in life, he meets this woman. I think everything's ordained. I really believe that, and I think Ed and Robin were meant to be together.
I am not the person in the spotlight. I just kind of wanted to stay in the background, and it was an adjustment, getting used to being with someone who's just so big and magnanimous and so well known. But I mean, he's just got the greatest personality, and that's his sense of humor, I think, is what that drew me to him. It's eye-opening. It's humbling. I mean, he would be so honored with all of these honors, and especially this one. I mean, this is a big deal.
It is, and to be in there with the kind of people that are being inducted tonight, that's pretty special. So, look, from the standpoint of honors, there are many of them. This is probably as big as they can possibly imagine. And I know if he was here right now, he'd be talking to you about what you're wearing and everything else, right? And and making sure you said the right words and all these things, right?
Yeah, he was a good guy. Good guy.
He's a great guy. And this honor is as special as it gets, and I know this is something that your family will cherish the rest of your lives.
Yes, we're very honored. Our family is very honored.
It has a perfect ring to it. Ed Daniels, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. It's well-deserved. We couldn't be happier for him. As my best friend in life, I'm deeply appreciative. We thank the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Hey, Robin and Ed's family here tonight. Robin, thank you. Would you stand and wave at everybody? Big hand for Robin and Ed's family. You guys come on to honor Ed. A bunch of his buddies are here tonight from the Distinguished Service Award winners from the past. Y'all wave at them. They look almost lifelike. Bobby, stand up. Oh, my bad. Y'all come on. There's Lynn, the Hall of Fame Road. Everybody come on, Bummer. These guys taught me a couple of the best lessons I ever learned in life. We're not going to be able to stand up here. They told us to keep, this is live television, everybody. We got to keep, are we still live? Oh, Jesus. Y'all keep going. Now, big hand for the DSA award winners. We got a couple of guys. Come on, Ron, Shirts and Skins hero. Larry the Lionhearted, the Soul. How you doing, Mick? Sheldon's here between cruises. Y'all, we got to keep. We're on the time front. Mary Beth, right. Recognized by her son, Dan. Please keep going. I know Butch. Me and Butch and Whitworth trying to represent West Monroe Beverly. Scooter named after a child's toy from Lake Charles. Here's the official cook of the Hall of Fame and the LSWA's Quib. Never met a seersucker suit he didn't like. B. Tompkins. Hello, Robin. Way to go, Lori. Our first president of the LSWA, who's a female, and was Robin, and you were the second, and Doug was the third. It's all worked out. Can I get a hug? Right, yes, you can get it. Well, we busted our 2-minute time limit. They gave me, seriously, without this family and my West Monroe family and Louisiana Tech family, Claiborne Parish family, and my real family, I do not know what I'd be emceeing tonight, but it'd probably be something in cell block D. The prisoner of the month. So for a kid like me who was going absolutely nowhere, this is a magical and surprising place to end up. So a big hand for our DSA winners and for Ed and Robin, please. We just learned about Ed. He was a fixture in New Orleans, much like our next Hall of Famer, followed in the footsteps of his daddy, Rags. Isn't that a great nickname? We've got some good ones in the Hall of Fame. A mailman, a pistol, Slick, big hands. We've got a blonde bomber, Chief, Snake, the Ruston rifle, Big Wit before long. And his son, Rag's son, Joe, joins him tonight. He's led the Delgado Dolphins to become one of the top JC programs in American baseball. Let's learn more about our next inductee.
Legacy, character, and tradition. 3 words that describe New Orleans' own Joe Scheuermann.
He is definitely a man of integrity. When it comes to the athletic program at Delgado Community College, it's top-notch, high caliber because of who he is.
But there's another word that may be the most important: family.
That's part of the Scheuermann's creed, the baseball program, and Kurt Scheuermann will always, another member of the family.
Joe's love of baseball started at an early age, learning the ways of the diamond from his father, Hall of Famer Rags Scheuermann.
When I came to Louisiana, one of the guys I met was a young kid while his father coached the team. Then ultimately, a few years later, he was the coach. And I met this young man, and I said, there's something special about this guy.
35 consecutive seasons later, the winning tradition of Delgado baseball is recognized by college baseball fans across the nation.
It's his work, it's his grit, it's his grind. He has elevated Delgado Community College to the next level.
14 consecutive NJCAA regional titles, 17 super regional berths, 5 trips to the JUCO World Series, and in 2025, eclipsing more than 1,200 career victories, with his 1,200th win coming on the birthday of his father, Rags.
The magic word is tradition, and the expectation is that it's a pass-it-on mentality.
And while the wins are nice, it's Joe's leadership that has helped countless young men and women grow and succeed in life.
He's my go-to when it's a good day, and he's my go-to when it's a bad day, because 9 times out of 10, he knows someone that can help me move the initiatives and priorities of the college forward. So that's leadership, without a doubt.
He's built not just players, but the facility at the junior college as well. So he's been a superstar for Louisiana baseball and certainly a Hall of Famer.
The family tradition continues, joining his dad, Rags, as only the 4th father-son combination in our hall.
Joe has done a great job, and he looks tremendously like his daddy.
My grandmother had a saying that you don't raise your family for yourself, you raise your family for others. I think that's been the mantra for many, many years, unspoken, that servant leadership that's been a steady presence, not just for my dad's career, but, you know, generational.
Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Joe Scheuermann.
Oh, come on, you are a
I'll just keep
big
looking down so I
follower.
don't cry, Coach Saban, that's all.
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations. It is quite an achievement to be the fourth only father-son duo inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. What do you think your dad, Rags, would say to that?
Yeah, I think he'd say, that was a big upset. I'll be quite honest with you. You know, he'd be proud, but my dad was my idol, you know, so just try to make him proud.
When we first spoke and I asked you what this meant to you, and I said, did you feel any responsibility to follow in the footsteps of your father? And you jokingly said, look, I just didn't want to embarrass him growing up. That was really my bar. And look at you now.
Yeah, I wasn't a very good coach the first 10 years I became a coach because my father was there and I was always worried about impressing him or not embarrassing him. And hate to say this, but when he passed, I became a better coach because I started to do it my way. And I know he's laughing at me right now, but you know, he used to send these notes down through our official scorer, and I'd say, Otto, you know what to do with that note. And I don't need it. I know I screwed up. I don't need to hear it again. So
You didn't need a Post-it note to remind you, did you? So I want to talk about what you have done for Delgado baseball, because you've really changed the perception and created a lot of respect for junior community college baseball. I mean, it is turning out professional baseball players, collegiate baseball players. What you've done in your time there has really changed the perception.
yeah, it's been a tough sell. You know, when I first got to Delgado was known in the state as a trade school. It's where you send your son to be a plumber or an electrician, air condition repairman, and getting on the road and try to convince parents that, hey, you can come to Delgado, get transferable credits. As English class you're going to take here is the same English class you're going to take at LSU was a tough sell. And because we were one of the only 2 community colleges in the state when I started. So it was a climb uphill for a couple years, but I hate to say this, the tragedy of Katrina was the renaissance of our program.
So we are coming up on the 20th anniversary of Katrina, August 29th, and I do want to remind people that it was less than a year after the storm, and you had to piece the baseball program back together, literally go out and raise funds and repair fields, and this was a turning point for the program.
Yeah, I'll tell the story as short as I can tell it, but we evacuated my family to Baton Rouge, and Vincent and Coach Bertman helped us find housing for a couple days. We ended up in the Radisson Hotel, 11 women, 2 dogs, a rabbit, me and my son. I don't know where the hell the rabbit came from, but it, walked in the bathroom and the rabbit was in the tub. I said, what the hell is going on here? But that's who the Shermans were. Anyway, couple days passed, and a friend of mine who owned the New Orleans Fairgrounds sent me a text message, which my daughter had to tell me what it was because I never got a text message before. And he said, I have a camp in New Roads if you want to use it. So the Clamperts, aka the Shermans,
And the rabbit.
moved to New Roads, and we bought furniture and moved into this fishing camp for 2.5 months. And it was during that time that I tried to find my players because they were spread out all over the place. Eventually got back to New Orleans in October, got our roster together and tried to pick up the pieces.
Baseball wasn't necessarily preordained in your destiny. Tell people the story of how it came about just through an unexpected open door.
Yeah, so this is a true story. When I was growing up, I started working for the Sugar Bowl when I was 13 years old. I was a mail courier. And back then, they used to deliver the newspapers to the bus station 3 days after they were printed. And you'd bring the newspapers to the 2 head coaches so they could read about the bad writers like Guilbeau, what they were saying about them. And 1974 was my first year working there, and it was Alabama versus Notre Dame. And I remember the first time I met Coach Bryant, I was delivering about 25 newspapers. Alabama's got more damn newspapers than any city in America, dailies, weeklies, whatever, bi-weeklies. And I get to the suite, and I had a doorbell on it, and I rang the doorbell, no answer. I rang the doorbell a second time, no answer. I said, I'm gonna have to carry these papers all the way back downstairs. I'm gonna try it one more time. Rang the doorbell the third time, all right, all right. The door opened, I thought the room was on fire. There's cigar smoke, cigarette smoke, and there was Coach Bryant, wife beater t-shirt, white boxer underwear. Bring him in here, boy. Brought the newspapers in, and then I said, Coach Bryant, I got some telegrams. Half the people here probably don't know what telegrams are, but brought the telegrams in. He gave me a $1 bill. And I said, man, I should have got him to autograph that, and rest is history.
And the legacy continues because your son is also involved in the athletic program.
Yes, he is. He's my, you know, what do they call, what do you call yourself now? Administrative assistants, whatever. But he runs my program. I mean, he is my ops director. He does everything. He does my counseling. He does my PR. He does my stats. It's been a family affair. I got my son doing the PA during the game. I got my wife and daughter selling concession stands. I mean, just come to Delgado and spend a week with Scheuermanns.
You know, Rags would be proud. The legacy continues. Congratulations being inducted into the 2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Well deserved.
Coach Scheuermann's doing a couple of sets at the Holiday Inn, 10:45. It's a $4 cover. Only thing he asks his players, he said, always give 100% unless you're giving blood. And then you want to, I always thought that was a handy rule. How about another big hand for Coach Scheuermann? Isn't that beautiful? Thank y'all for being here supporting tonight. Our next honoree is a recipient of the 2025 Dave Dixon Sports Leadership Award. This award is given to an individual who's brought credit to our state on a national and an international level. And this year we honor a man who's the ultimate professional in sports information and in communication. It is a real honor for me to introduce to you Kennedy's dad and Jamie's husband, a pro's pro, Herb Vincent.
Where does one start when talking about veteran athletics communicator Herb Vincent? As a student at LSU, he became the right-hand man of legendary sports information director Paul Manasseh.
He was really the only person that my dad ever let work in the sports information department as a freshman. So there was something that my dad spotted that was special about Herb.
For Herb, a professional approach to the task at hand was always prominent.
You remember when you were in college, you always had that one friend who would throw the best parties, and there'd be girls and people there. It was just the best time. Herb's parties were nothing like that.
After college, he learned to navigate the rise and fall of sports teams in the mid-1980s. While working with the New Orleans Breakers, and later the Los Angeles Express of the USFL.
The USFL, which he was working in professional football, had just folded up. And he basically was looking for someplace to land. And we happened to have a job opening. And I said, this is great. Now, I knew all along that this was very much a short-term thing.
And McDonald was right. Herb's career would soon land him at his alma mater, LSU.
He knew we could be successful here, and he knew what the message to put out there, what our brand needed to be, how LSU needed to look.
What a guy. He was so good at everything. He did things for the university, and he did things for the athletic department. He did things for me personally.
In 2013, the league office came calling. He currently serves as Associate Commissioner of Communications for the SEC.
When we hired Herb, the number of messages that came into our office recognizing his credibility with the media, I think underscores why he deserves that Hall of Fame recognition.
Tonight, he carries on a legacy that very few in this hall can celebrate. as the recipient of the Dave Dixon Sports Leadership Award. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Herb Vincent.
Great to see you, Herb. 1 week ago, you were in Omaha representing the Southeastern Conference, watching one of your conference teams take the title that just so happens to be your old school. How tough is it to be representing the conference and maybe not have that little extra?
Well, in that case, it's easy because we had one team there. You know, the last 2 times we've been in Omaha, we've had SEC versus SEC, and that's a challenge because you have to be neutral, and in one way you're glad because you know you're going home with a championship. But when you go on the field after the game, you can't celebrate too much with one team because the other team's going to see you. So you got to be careful. But when LSU beats Coastal Carolina, you can celebrate all you want. That's what I did. Had a great time.
For a youngster from Arkansas, why LSU?
I don't know, that's a good question. Most of my friends went to Arkansas. I wanted to do something different. We had a lot of relatives in South Louisiana, so spent a lot of time in South Louisiana growing up. I had a sister who's here, and she lived in Baton Rouge, so she could do my laundry. You know, that helps. I just liked LSU, and they invited me to go to what's called spring testing in the spring, and before my during my senior year, and I went. I just fell in love with it. And I always liked the LSU Tigers, and so sports had a lot to do with it.
Was there ever a thought of maybe going back to Arkansas?
No, not really. Not really. It was really South Louisiana became my home. I liked it, and as the video showed, I moved around a couple of different places, but always kind of came back home.
I don't know if it's possible to answer this with one, but do you have a special or unique LSU memory that stands out?
Oh gosh, you know, I kind of feel like the Forrest Gump of LSU because I was always close to a lot of great events. I was on the field behind the goalpost during the earthquake game. I was on the concourse behind home plate during the Warren Morris home run. I saw the Bluegrass Miracle. I was just at a lot of great events with people like Shaquille O'Neal and Chris Jackson and Ben McDonald. Just to be able to be around all those folks, there's not one really event that stands out. It's all that makes for just great memories at LSU.
Well, let me ask you then about people. Obviously, Paul Manasseh had a very big influence. If you're the only freshman he would let work in the sports information department, what about others that stand out that you had a chance to work with during your time in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Larry White is here. Larry worked in the office at the time as assistant sports information director. You know, he was the first one that told me, he said, I think you'd be pretty good at that. At this, and that was the first thing that really got me going, thinking, well, maybe this is something that I want to do. So I thank Larry for that. Joe Dean, he gave me a chance as sports information director. Skip Burtman hired me back there. Just a lot of great folks that I was able to work with and be around, and so a lot of people gave me a big break.
And I remember your time in Baton Rouge. You left sports information because you went to actually work for the university. And then back in sports. Was that something where they needed you, but you wanted to get back on the sports side?
Yeah, it really was. When they asked me to kind of be over communications for the athletic, it's funny, the chancellor calls me one day and he said, I want to come to your office. I said, well, how about if I go to your office? You know, you're the chancellor. He said, no, I want to stop by. And he came in and he said, we really like what you're doing with the marketing of the athletic department and how you brand it. We'd like you to do it for the entire university. And I said, well, you know, I've always been in athletics. I really don't want to get out of that. And he said, no, I want you to do both. And so he let me be both athletics and university. I thought it was part-time. It went 4 years doing both sides of campus, which was a bit of a challenge. And eventually the SEC came calling. It kind of gave a chance to get back just into sports, and that's when that happened.
And of course, if the conference comes calling, I guess you almost have to say yes. But was it tough when you just named the athletes you were standing, the memories, the Bluegrass Miracle, all the experiences, all the coaches and players? Was it tough to say goodbye to one school and then head to Birmingham?
Absolutely. It was really hard because I've been at LSU most of my life. It's where I wanted to be. I was very happy there. But Mike Slive said, come to Birmingham. Let's talk about it. He said, I'm going to try to talk you into the job. I said, okay, well, we can talk. And he said something that kind of caught me. He said, do you want to be doing the same thing 5 years from now that you're doing right now, or do you want to try something different on a bigger stage? And so that kind of got me, and I thought I'd take that risk and make that change.
We certainly heard what Greg Sankey had to say about you in the video, and if he has compliments like that, we know that carries a lot of clout because we know what Greg Sankey is like as a man and a commissioner. What does that mean to you when you hear the compliments and the pros pro and the man who does it right? As you celebrate a weekend like this, how does that affect you? How does that mean to you?
It makes you feel good when you hear what Greg said, when you hear what Skip said, and I've been close to him for a long time. When people of that stature put trust in you, and you know they count on you, that makes you raise your area of responsibility and your commitment to them. So those are important things to hear.
I know there's a lot of staff here tonight that's been long. I saw Bill Franquez, obviously Kent Lowe, that you all worked with, and I know they still carry on a lot of the leadership aspects that you gave them. What was your biggest takeaway from LSU that you've carried with you to the SEC today?
I think the campus experience is really important, and to take that campus experience to the conference office and provide that as an educational opportunity for all the folks there, because some people there have only worked in the conference office. And so it's good to bring the campus experience to the conference office. It was good for me to get to a conference office and see what goes on around the rest of the league. And so it was a great move for me and a great opportunity.
Well, Jamie and Kennedy, congratulations to your husband and to your dad. And Herb, congratulations to you. Welcome to the Sports Hall of Fame. Herb Vincent, everybody. Congrats. Well, some people, if you didn't know, Slap Your Mama's got a headquarters in Ville Platte. It's seasoning for most of us. Some people might think that it has a little bit of a punch to it, but before Slap Your Mama was in Ville Platte, there was another person handing out punches in a big way. High school boxing and the best in the business. And that's going to be our next inductee. If you'll please enjoy this video for Bobby Soileau.
These tarnished plaques, trophies, and newspaper clippings are a time capsule when boxing reigned supreme. One of the Bayou State's greatest fighters ever was George Willard Soileau, better known as Bobby.
I remember him being very quick, that he was a boxer, not a slugger. He balanced that by being able to really throw some hard punches.
Heralding from Ville Platte, Bobby made a name for himself as one of Louisiana's most dominant high school boxers in the 1950s.
Even Bobby Soileau got hit sometime. And so you had to be able to not only give out punches, you had to be able to take the punches.
Soileau claimed state boxing championships in 1950, 51, 52, and 54. He was awarded the Francis G. Brink Award in his senior year at Sacred Heart, which was given to the state's top boxer.
He was so good, he goes to LSU and as a sophomore wins the national championship in his division. And then, like many colleges did across the nation that time in the 50s, they killed the program. Now all of a sudden, he doesn't have the thing that he's the most passionate about. And the great thing about Coach Soileau is that he reinvented himself.
His boxing roots were a perfect match in teaching toughness to young football players, becoming head football coach at his alma mater.
One of our players challenged him in the dressing room in his office one day to boxing. So Coach Soileau put his gloves on. Before my teammate picked up his hands, Coach Soileau hit him about 20 times. The things that he molded into us were discipline, toughness, both mental and physically, determination, and heart.
Those teachings and a little divine intervention helped lead Sacred Heart of Ville Platte to a Class B state championship.
We lost our first game to AIC, Academy of the Immaculate Conception. And on December the 8th, 1967, the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, we won the state championship.
Coach Soileau's heart carried the spirit of small-town pride, reminding us that sometimes you just need to lace up a pair of gloves and fight to help elevate the community around you.
He's one of those people that is held in such high, esteem by everyone that he's come across.
A winner by knockout. Let's recognize Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Bobby Soileau.
Congratulations on this award honoring your dad, Bobby Soileau. And thank you so much for being here to represent your father tonight and his legacy. And we have to start this conversation with his famous left jab. And as a child, you said that you used to spar with him, right?
Yes,
but
ma'am.
now, when you visit him, that's the way that you connect and you bond. Tell me about that.
He like the video said, his hands were super fast, so he could throw 3 jabs, and you think it was one. It's like, golly. He'd set the people he was fighting, he would set them up with the jab, And they were so worried about the jab, they'd forget about that right cross coming and that left hook right after that. So a lot of times, they said, Coach Bobby, when Bobby was fighting, he never got hit. The matches would go so quick. When we had that meeting when Billy Cannon came over, and he was just bragging about my dad, how good of a fighter he was, and we have the legend that's telling me he never missed a fight. You watch my dad fight, every fight he fought in college, and the legend is telling me how great my dad was, So when he told me, when I heard that, I was like, well, he must have been pretty dang good,
So boxing in its heyday kind of faded out while he was at LSU, and he had to reinvent himself.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't know this, but he left a lucrative job to take the job at Sacred Heart as a high school football coach.
Right. Yeah, he was working, and I forget the name of the company, but he was making, and that time in the 60s, he was making very good money. But he always had a knack from after boxing. He wanted to teach. He wanted to teach kids. So I think from his high school boxing coach and his college boxing coach, he said, I think I want to do what they do. And he was the type of guy where he was a player's coach. He loved the kids. The kids just had a good relationship with him. But he was a disciplinarian, and he was a guy that loved condition, because he went back to his boxing, and he knew what it took to be able to stay in the ring, and throw punches and get hit. And he brought that, I believe, to the football field. And it's like some of his players have said, some players went on and played at McNeese, and they said, we never did any conditioning as much as we did in high school with Coach Bobby, because he believed in that conditioning. He was going to win the game in the fourth quarter.
And you say even today around town, people come up to you and they thank you and they say, your father really made an impact both on my athletic career but also my character.
Correct. Yeah, so many, and he coached so many kids over the 30 years, and successful people with businesses and doctors and lawyers, and they'll come and tell me, your dad did so much for me. He was like a dad to me, and he taught me about life. He taught me how to raise my family. He taught me how to treat other people. And, it makes me feel good when I hear it. And, it's just a great feeling.
Your dad, featherweight boxing champion, larger than life person. He doesn't meet a stranger. Even now, he's very social.
Yes, he is. He's got severe dementia. So when you talk to him, you tell him something, a couple of minutes later, he's already forgot about it, But, he's larger than life. He would walk into a room. He wanted to be friends with everyone. A good person. Loved to, if he was here today, and if he could understand what was going on, it would be rocking in here. He loved to party. He loved to have a good time. He wanted everybody to have a good time. And, but when it got time to be serious, we're going to get serious. But, it was good stuff.
Well, Bobby's legacy continues. You also coach at Sacred Heart. Tell me about that.
Yes, ma'am. I've been coaching now for 25 years. I do football, assistant football, head track and field, and powerlifting. So do 3 sports. I stay busy, and I'm enjoying it. And I never wanted to coach. I told my dad several times, I'm never going to do what you do. So I got in the oil field for 10 years, and then when I got out, I saw the people and hear the comments from what they would say about my dad as a coach and basically their dad. And I said, I think I'm going to try that. So I started coaching and really fell in love with it. Started with track and field and went into the football scene and then the powerlifting thing, and just fell in love with it and love to try to teach kids about the sport that they're in, but also about life, being a good husband, being a good wife, and raising kids, and just being a leader in the community.
Being a good person, which was your dad.
Person.
Well, thank you so much for joining us to represent and honor your dad's legacy.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Before we go on with the 2025 Hall of Fame class, if y'all would join me for just a minute to take this time to remember some Hall of Famers and our friends who we've lost this past year in this in memoriam. Thank you. That's always kind of a bittersweet time of the week and time of the program and time of year, but necessary too. Just remember how lucky we've been to know a lot of these people. It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all, I figure, and we're so lucky that they've enriched our lives as they have. Along those lines, we got a room full of people tonight who make this event special each year. There's a lot of volunteers, interns, Hall of Fame staff, but there's one person tonight we want to recognize specially. In 2013, we saw a need to create this special award in memory of one of our greatest sports writers, the lovable Marty Muley. He literally wrote the book on the Hall of Fame, which we have available for you, and we've only given the award out 2 times in the last 12 or 13 years. We're going to do that tonight. The requirement is you have a heart about as big as a Superdome and just a tremendous generosity of spirit. So she does not know we're going to do this, but in the last 20 years, if you had anything to do with the Hall of Fame, you know this wonderful lady. Hall of Fame Chairman Doug Ireland is presenting over here to my left the Marty Muley Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Hero Award to this wonderful woman who makes this weekend work so well. Year after year, she's my friend and yours, Ronnie Pellegrin. Ronette and Natchitoches, they're just supreme hosts every year. Dorothea, how about tell us some more about what's happened here in this charming city on this Hall of Fame weekend?
All right, Teddy, well, I sure will. Do you feel the love out there? Yeah, well, I definitely feel the love, and that's exactly what this weekend was about, showing love to our Louisiana greats. It started with a welcoming reception, a celebrity bowling match, and a rocking river fest. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look.
Welcome to the 2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction celebration here in the city of Natchitoches. This is a beloved and much anticipated event.
It's changed a lot since the last time I was here. When my dad got inducted, they didn't have all this. This is really nice. Got a lot of family members and friends here, so we're going to enjoy the weekend.
I'm here at the 2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Celebrity Bowling event, and as you can see behind me, the party is just getting started.
Having a great time.
I'm not a great bowler, but I am very competitive.
Yeah.
And so hopefully I don't throw my shoulder out, but I am trying to win.
I'm just hoping not to get injured and to get maybe 1 strike. That's my goal today. If I get 1 strike, I'm gonna be fired up.
Being able to come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and be back in Natchitoches and Alexandria, just visiting
the local states that I was able to represent this year. Just sharing these memories that I'm going to have forever is the best part.
As the sun sets, the celebration continues as Rockin' Riverfest takes the stage, bringing the entire community out to share in the fun. All right, I am with two Hall of Famers. What does it mean to share this honor?
Well, we're not sharing. I'm a Hall of Famer, and he's kind of a okay Hall of Famer.
Now that he's in, I may say, see if I can get out.
Food has been great. Tonight is fantastic. Bowling was fun for sure. Really, the press conference yesterday, just getting to listen to these Hall of Fame inductees, get to share a little bit of their heart and their history. It's been a lot of fun.
2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame class. Get on your feet for these folks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy Hall of Fame, everybody.
I did something, I didn't quit it. I started applying myself to it, I started putting my energy into it, and I tried to find a way to be good at it.
The weekend's been unbelievable, and just the organization, the people, the town gets behind it. It's just been an amazing event.
It's great, it's fun. The kids seem excited to be here, so it's just an honor to be here and be able to interact with the kids and give back as well.
That's it. There we go.
Because everything's so fun and everything that they do is so special. I'm just excited for the whole weekend.
Hey, this is Teddy again. I'm sorry to bother you. It'll just be a second. We got gymnastics coming up, so I'm back here in the bar. It would take at least 27 shots of something back there for me to get close to a balance beam, I promise. But our next competitor did not have that problem. Fearless, courageous, determined. Please meet our friend, the supremely talented April Burkholder.
It's no secret that one of the hottest tickets in Louisiana sports is LSU women's gymnastics.
It's excellence at its greatest, and it's what LSU's about. We're going to try to be the best in what we do.
A trend that's been on the rise since April Burkholder flipped, twisted, and wowed fans in the PMAC in the mid-2000s.
She catches your eye because she was just that good.
She soared into the national spotlight as a teenager, training and competing with Team USA, where she was a junior Olympic champion in 1997, 99, and 2001.
Well, I was at Caroli's Gymnastics when I first met April Burkholder, and she was this beautiful little bright-eyed, blue-eyed, little blonde, talented gymnast, and she had a ton of energy. I loved seeing another young athlete with such talent, and that's really what stood out as a young child.
When we finally landed her, it was the same time that LSU women's basketball landed Simone. And there was so much gain and so much reward moving forward with April.
April brought excellence to LSU gymnastics from her first day on campus, including 20 individual titles and being named the 2003 SEC Freshman of the Year.
The personality came out, she became a choreographer, she did a lot of dancing, and you could really see that she was in her element.
She would continue to raise the standard throughout her collegiate career.
10-0 twice on beam, 10-0 4 times on floor, 2006 being champion, 2005 Central Region Gymnast of the Year, 04 NCAA Central Region Gymnast of the Year.
That list can go on, but in all, she claimed 108 individual
8 career perfect 10s. Was she indispensable? Yeah.
What she brought to the program was a real professional, a real polished look, a style, and a self-confidence in the kind of gymnastics that she wants to do.
She is the most decorated gymnast in LSU history. and continues to be an inspiring figure for young gymnasts.
The program continued to grow, the crowds continued to grow. She was the start of that.
Tonight, she'll stick another landing into our Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, April Burkholder.
A big congratulations to you, April. Quite the trailblazer. And we have to start with the fact that you had career-ending injuries and you had every reason to give up on the sport of gymnastics. Tell us a little bit about this journey because it was hard fought.
It started with a concussion at 2 from a fractured skull. And then I broke 5 bones before I was 5 years old. And then with actual gymnastics, I had 2 compound open fractures and 3 surgeries to my left arm, almost amputated it. So came back from that, and there's a bunch of other injuries that we just can't get into because we don't have time.
Well, what kept you going? I mean, what was it about the sport that kept you persevering through all these challenges?
Well, I think it's just something that is inside of you that wants to compete, the love and the passion for it. And then, afterwards, I remember even my parents said, I'm okay if you never want to do gymnastics again because we're tired of looking at, your arm, your bone in your arm. And I was like, well, then what would it all be worth? What would it be for if I just stopped right now? So had to continue on really just because that's what makes it all worth it, So.
The sacrifice, I don't think a lot of people realize the sacrifice that goes into it. 10 hours at the gym. You're not in traditional school. It is very demanding. Financially, it can be challenging. All of those were challenges that you faced.
Yeah, I was in the gym 10 hours a day at 10 years old, and school was on the back burner. So, I did go through a lot of obstacles just education-wise as well because of that. I had to find a school that would allow me to go for 4 hours. So, I went from just skipping 6th grade altogether to, a private school 1 year with Dominique, actually, and then alternative schools where, every kid's gotten kicked out of every other school, and that's where I'm at. So my education wasn't the best, and I was well-rounded as a person because of it. But I did have a scholarship athletically waiting for me for a year, and I couldn't go because I was ineligible academically. And Dee Dee actually fought, for me, and had me. I drove all the way from Houston to Dallas to work with some tutors and try to get the SAT scores up. And I eventually just had to go back to high school after I graduated, humble myself, and just retake some classes to raise my GPA, and that's what did it.
Well, is that what drew you to LSU? Dee Dee's support, saying, we're here for you, we will help you, we will find a way to get you on this team.
Well, I was already going to LSU before she did that, because I had my mind made up as soon as I came to LSU. It was my first trip, and just Dee Dee and Bob and Phil at the time was the other assistant coach. They just make you feel like home, So I felt like it was home the moment I got there. Took a couple other trips just because you're supposed to, and just say like, oh, well, let's just make sure. And then I was about to take my 4th trip to Georgia, and it was actually Jay that was recruiting, who's now the head coach of LSU Gymnastics, and he was actually recruiting then. And that's when Dee Dee knew, I had a lot of teammates that I grew up with at Georgia, and she's like, I think you need to hurry up and sign, So I was like, yeah, and then conversation with Jay, he's like, well, I heard LSU is your #1 choice. If you don't really, really want to come here, rather not waste the trip on you. And I was like, all right, Jay. Well,
tough love. So let's talk about what you've done for gymnastics. You've really made an intentional decision to edge up routines with choreography. And it set a standard that even today has sort of changed gymnastics and made it more performative, more entertaining.
Well, I don't even think it was really intentional. I've always had a love for dance. We used to dance around and pretend we were in music videos with my teammates, with all the free time we had. And I just was choreographing my own routines before college, and then came to LSU, started choreographing for some of my teammates. And it's just funny because I remember saying to my teammates, like, are you sure you want do you want hip-hop routine, or do you want like hip hop? Okay, well, you have to do it this way, and you have to execute it this way, because you're on that fine line of, the artistic style that is gymnastics and what the judges are used to versus, we're appealing to a college crowd and, and being more relatable that way. So you just would never hear that today, So it's fun and exciting to see the growth in the dance on floor. And so I just have a lot of fun going back and seeing all the choreography now.
And here we are on stage celebrating you as a 2025 inductee into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Special moment for you because you have your family here with you. 10 years ago, you were inducted into the LSU Athletic Hall of Fame. But this is different?
This is. I have my husband and my daughter now with me, so that definitely makes it much more special, and she's crying because she can see me. So she won't remember this, but we have video and we have proof. So it makes it special for sure.
What has gymnastics given you personally? We know about all of your career success, but how has it shaped who you are?
Honestly, it's the whole character of everything, the grit, the perseverance, it teaches you a lot throughout your entire life. And college, you come in with gymnastics specifically before college, you don't have a team. You're kind of out there, on your own. You have a couple of competitions a year, and each one is like make it or break it. And then you come to college, and you're competing every weekend. You have a whole team. It's a family. You're still best friends with my teammates now, and that's what really just made it more special for me and more well-rounded as a person as well for that reason. But you definitely take with you those life skills, and you can use them, forever.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Newest member of the 2025 Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. So we're going to make a transition from our smallest inductee to our tallest inductee, Danny Granger. Take a look.
When basketball fans remember Danny Granger, they may recall a smooth jump shot and a prolific scorer at the high school, college, and professional levels. His footwork was deliberate. His shot selection was intelligent. His game was precisely calculated.
His competitive drive was off the charts.
He was a standout at Grace King High School, where as a senior, he averaged almost 19 points and 9 rebounds per game.
He was a quiet leader, but he always worked hard. He could play inside, outside, he could handle the ball, and he was really long, so defensively we could scheme to funnel everybody to him.
But even at a young age, Danny's intellect was at the forefront of his success.
He's that 32 ACT, 4.0 overall GPA. Yale was really after him really hard. Ultimately, he chose Bradley, highly ranked civil engineering school.
After a coaching change at Bradley, Granger transferred to New Mexico and continued pursuit of a degree in civil engineering while improving his game on the hardwood.
You just like being around Danny. Certainly he had a self-assuredness about him, but he also wanted to win the game, and he would sacrifice his own for the benefit of others.
He was the Mountain West Conference Tournament MVP and twice earned all Mountain West honors.
Granger up top, 3 ball, got it!
Selected 17th overall in the 2005 NBA draft, he quickly became a cornerstone for the Indiana Pacers.
He entered the NBA at a time when players could still go straight from high school into the NBA. Indiana was still looked at as one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference, even though Reggie Miller had retired. Danny was able to get minutes right away as a rookie and to become a full-time starter by his second year in the NBA.
In all, he played 10 seasons in the NBA, the majority of that with the Pacers. He accumulated 9,855 points, 2,888 rebounds, and 1,097 assists, and was a league all-star and most improved player in 2009.
And the question is, who knows how many all-star appearances Danny could have made had injuries not cut short his NBA career.
He was that guy, and every kid would understand the work ethic that he put in. Everybody would be a lot better off.
Granger was the perfect balance of brain and brawn. a player whose mind was his greatest weapon, and proof that in the game of basketball, intelligence is just as valuable as raw talent. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Danny Granger.
Unfortunately, this week something to come up with Danny. He was not able to be here with us. He notified the Sports Hall of Fame, but thankfully, while most defenses couldn't catch up with him, I did. Wednesday afternoon, as he was finishing lunch, had a chance to interview him, and we started by talking about his playing days in New Orleans. So please enjoy my interview with Danny Granger.
Let's tell everybody you're talking to us now from Scottsdale, Arizona, where you reside now and where you call it home. You think back a lot to your days of the Grace King days, back there at the end of the 90s and early 2000s in your high school. What are your memories of your playing days when you were growing up in New Orleans?
Very fond memories. That there at Grace King, my coach was Gerald Fisher, and then Jill Fisher was his wife. And so they had kind of a huge impact on our basketball program during that time period. A lot of great memories, a lot of fond memories playing Bonneville, playing East Jefferson, playing West Jefferson, Salmon. So it was, when I think about it, it seems, I'm 42 now, and that was 24 to 25 years ago. So it seems like long ago, but the fact that I know it's so important to me because the memories are still kind of etched in my brain, so to speak. So just a lot of fun. Yeah, New Orleans definitely is near and dear to my heart.
Your high school coach was talking about your playing days and talking about how fierce you were. Where did that fierceness come from on the basketball court?
You know what? I grew up in Metairie, and the particular area where we grew up in wasn't that great. So you kind of had to be a little bit fierce to survive, so to speak. But thankfully, I had good parents, my mother and my father. They kept me really on the right path, but they also instilled in me a work ethic. And with that work ethic, once it was instilled in me, it kind of took over as I became a young man. And I love to win, and I love to compete. I love to play. I just love the game of basketball. And thankfully, I grew to be 6'8.5", 6'9", with a 7'2" wingspan. So it helped me to be able to beat everyone. I mean, I remember in high school, as I kept growing, I kept saying to myself, man, this game's really easy. I was just scoring points. So the fierceness and the competitor in me always was there. And it just so happened I had the physical attributes to match up with it.
Louisiana has long been known for having a long train of athletes that go into football, but you're one of many that's a long train of basketball stars to have outstanding careers in the NBA. As you traveled the country with the Indiana Pacers, did you often get that chance to catch up with other Louisiana athletes who were in the league and swap stories or just talk about being from the Bayou State?
Absolutely. But New Orleans, it has that, that heritage of, it's a unique city. I feel like saying you from New Orleans is different than saying I'm from Denver, right? Or I'm from South Carolina or whatever. New Orleans is such a unique city that it holds that special place when you can connect immediately, like with the culture and the food that we have. You say New Orleans, it's like, oh yeah, we speak on the same level. I know exactly what you're talking about. So that was always a good experience, as I was playing.
I know towards the end of your career, injury settled in and it removed you from the game. But when you were in your stride, it just so happened that New Orleans had an NBA team return. So when you had a chance to go down to downtown New Orleans and play, was it extra special when you would bring your Pacers back into your home city?
It was, and everybody knew that when we would go play in New Orleans, I would need like 50 tickets or something crazy for like all my family and friends that would come. And it was funny because my grandmother, who she's since passed, but she used to, I don't know how, she would get past security and she would always she would leave food on our bus. So it got to the point where it was so common that when I finally left Indiana, I got traded toward the end of my career. And one of the former teammates, he called me and he said, hey man, I know you ain't with us, little Danny, but we going to play in New Orleans. Can you tell your grandmother to bring us some food? I said, yeah, I'll tell her. So my grandmother brought the food, even though I wasn't on the team. She brought it to the Pacers, So it's fun, it's unique. I love New Orleans.
How much do you get back to Louisiana, and how much does it mean to you to get back here and see the family and friends when you have that opportunity?
We'll try to go back to see my family. as much as possible. When we do, me and my wife plan to gain about 5 pounds. So we kind of fast before we go out there. Cause I tell my wife, I said, baby, I'm eat. Let you know I'll eat, so I'm start working out right now. Now that you say it, we are planning a trip to be back. We're probably gonna be back in about 4 or 5 months. We're gonna head back down there to see my family.
Well, the state will always open its arms and welcome you back. And of course, the next time you come, you make sure you get right here to Natchitoches and come see your spot now in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Danny Granger, class of 2025. Danny, congratulations on your induction into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Well, I am here with Mr. Darden here, notable LSU alumni and former lieutenant governor of our great state. Everybody give him a hand. All right, sir, now LSU is really, they're being honored a lot tonight. A lot of alumni here. How does that feel?
Well, it's great. And you look through the years, LSU has always been at this event and had great athletes through the years. Let me just first say what a great night this is. I always look forward to this night. It's so inspirational to see these Louisianians proud of their heritage who have really become international and national figures.
Awesome. Well, I love that. And speaking of notable LSU alumni, Billy Graham. Now, Billy Graham. I went to church, y'all. Billy Graham. So, Billy Cannon. Now, you and I, or UNLPB, we're working on a documentary about his life. Why is his story important?
Well, there's one name that's really magical throughout Louisiana sports, and everybody who's Louisianian, I think, remembers the name Billy Cannon and what he meant in the 1950s to LSU and to the growth of collegiate sports, particularly in the South, the growth of weightlifting, which was not a part of training. And we're going to tell, LPB and I will be telling the story of the life of Billy Cannon, a very complicated, challenging, interesting life, the ups and downs, but a great story of redemption by a great hero who is still magical in Louisiana today.
Well, I love that. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to that documentary sometime this year, right?
Late December, early January.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir. Now, on to our next notable LSU alumni. Now, this gentleman has been known as a man amongst boys, starting in his high school football career. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Andrew Big Wit Whitworth. I was just joking.
Andrew Whitworth has been an unstoppable force on the gridiron at the high school, collegiate, and professional level.
He always poured into other guys. He liked to have an influence on people.
Nicknamed Big Wit for a reason, the 6'7", 330-pound West Monroe High School tight end would transition to offensive lineman under the coaching of Hall of Famer Don Showers.
He's going to be a great college player, and he'll have a chance maybe to play at the other way.
He was a part of 3 high school state championship teams with the Rebels.
Whit was always one that was in tune with his body. He always wanted to perform at his highest level.
That prominence would lead to him being a top recruit in the country, targeted by most major collegiate programs, but LSU would win the battle.
That was Nick Saban's first class. And they set a standard here for the future players at LSU.
Big Wit set a school record 52 starts with 920 snaps. He started all 14 games at tackle in LSU's magical 2003 championship season.
Me and Whit battled a lot of days in practice, and I knew he was going to be an exceptional football player in college and in the pros.
He was a second-round NFL draft pick of the Cincinnati Bengals, where he redefined left tackle plays.
Blocker instead, the pass out here to the tackle-eligible Andrew Whitworth for the touchdown.
Whitworth was not just good, but a perennial All-Pro, capping off a 16-year career in the league as a champion with the Los Angeles Rams.
I think the steadiness at which he handled things, whether it was good or whether we were working through some challenging moments. He always used to talk about, hey, this is a blessing, it's never a burden, and that was the approach that he took every single day.
But a defining moment of his career came after that Super Bowl celebration, sitting on a confetti-filled SoFi Stadium floor with his family.
That was Daddy's last football game. That's it. No more. I'm gonna be home with you guys. Okay?
Big Whit wasn't just a mountain of a man, but also had an equally exceptional character, always showing humility and leadership to his teammates and community.
We will rebuild LA, hand in hand, together.
Because he's the only person to ever wear the Walter Payton Man of the Year patch, be able to win a Super Bowl and go out that way. He's the epitome of a special one and a Hall of Famer.
It's not just the competitiveness, it's the selflessness, it's the servant's heart that he has.
None of us know when the moment's going to present itself. The key is to always be available when it does.
He is the ultimate blend of dominance and decency. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Andrew Whitworth.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Big Whit, we have to fess up. You had a humbling start to your football career back at practice, right? Got beat by a girl, so to speak.
Wow, we're going to start there.
Yeah, we are. We're going
man.
there.
I did have a humbling start. You know, I was a kid growing up that I think I never really wanted to accept how big I was. I always thought I was a little bit smaller, so I always thought I was going to be a receiver or a tight end or whatever. And at first in my life, I thought I was going to be a basketball player, maybe even a tennis player. I was big into tennis. My dad was an intramural tennis player growing up. So that was what I thought I was going to be. So my very first day I went out for football, the Ouachita Christian Junior High coaches talked me into playing. And I go out and I get in the line, and lo and behold, I end up going against Coach Harper's daughter, Molly Harper. That was my first rep of one-on-one football. And she knocked me flat on my back. And all I can remember is staring up at the sky, grass all over me. I was itchy and sweating and hot, and I was like, I don't know why I came out here. But I always go tell that story when I go to schools, because for me, I love to tell children that story because it's just a fun way to get them to laugh and interact, and then get to tell them, hey, listen, in the football world, I started at the very bottom of the totem pole. I got ran over by the coach's daughter my first day.
And look at you now. Here
Exactly.
you are. Look at you now.
You know what? Never let those situations of hardship or tough, or the first thing you do something, you fail. Never let that define you, you know, and always have the willingness to try it again and see what happens when you pour your heart and soul into something.
So here you are on stage, and you are sharing this honor with your fellow inductee, Nick Saban, your coach at LSU. In fact, you were part of the first recruitment class that Nick brought on, and a championship team. What does it mean to share that honor and have him here with you?
I think it means the world to me. I mean, I look at my athletic career, and I think a lot of who I am today was from those years that we all spent together. When you use terms like iron sharpens iron, and you talk about culture and you talk about the atmosphere and how it affects people where you play and how you do things, I think of Nick Saban and the first time that somebody was honest with me in the recruiting process. I think Houston Nutt and Steve Spurrier and all these guys recruited me and kind of told me, like, yeah, you could come here and try to be a tight end if you want to. And you know, I'll never forget Nick sitting in my living room with my parents, with my mom and dad, and we were sitting there, and he's like, you know what, if you want to come here as a tight end, he had just gotten the job, so you know, he was still being a little sweet with recruiting, to give you a little, you could possibly, he's like, but if you'd moved to tackle, I'm pretty sure you'd have a pretty good career. You might even go past college and have a great career if you'd move and make that move to offensive line. And you know, I don't know if Nick's been right about a lot, but he was definitely right about that one, right?
So definitely a full circle moment for you, and you went on to achieve greatness in professional football. Do you feel a certain responsibility that comes with the celebrity status attached to your name?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a duty to me always. I don't care what it is in life. Anything I'm given or have the opportunity to be a part of, I think just in general, life is really about all of us living it together. I mean, I think that we use a lot of cliche words like culture, but, that cracks me up because it's like we act like culture is some crazy thing. I mean, I think there's so many simple examples in life. Every single one of us can think of a couple, whether it be grandparents or father, or mom and dad, or maybe just a couple that you're friends with, that you see them and all the time you're always enamored with the way they speak to each other, the way they challenge each other, the way they handle adversity together, the way they love each other. And one of the ones that I think is the most important to any great culture, any great team, any great relationship, the way they recognize one another. When they walk in a room or anytime they see them, the way you see the passion and the energy that comes from them when they're around each other. I just described what a great football team is, what a great athletic team is. I don't care what you do in life, a great business is. When you have those shared things that a culture is just shared beliefs and values. And when you have those things, that's what makes things special. So to me, when I get a chance to be a part of anything, I want to make sure that I make things better than I find them. And that's like, to me, I feel like that's my duty in life. I'm put here. I was given the blessings and the abilities to do that. And to me, that's what I think is important in life, is that anything I'm a part of, it's going to be better because I'm there, because the people who I get to do it with are what matter most.
Growing up in North Louisiana and shaping the foundation of your football career, what do you think it is about Louisiana that turns out so many world-class athletes? Is it in the water? What is it that we do? What is it about us?
It's our way of life. It's exactly what I just described. Because when I sat here and I think about being at West Monroe High School, and I think about, my own parents, and I think about my teammates' parents, and I think about when we were really successful and we're on this run and everybody believes, we're going to other guys' parents and they're feeding the whole team. We have the coaches pouring into us every single day in every way possible. I go to LSU, it's the same thing, right? You're just further away from home and all of a sudden it's a new home. There's all these moms that are having us over to eat. There's dads that are taking us to lunch and talking to us about what we want to be in life and what we want to get out of being LSU Tigers, the support system that LSU provided. And then you go to the NFL and it's the same thing, except for the difference is I always tell young guys, once you get to the league, you've got to be that support system. So when I got there, it was about that opportunity of, can I share the values that I learned from Louisiana? Making everyone feel a part of something, making everyone feel their value in that relationship, their value to our team. Can I spread that love? Is it about when we win a game, me celebrating with my family, or me saying, hey, honey, you know what, this would be a great opportunity. Invite the young guys over. Let's get the special teamers over. Let's get some of the guys who don't have big contracts. Let's feed them. Let's create an opportunity to host them. To me, that's our way of life in Louisiana. We make everyone feel special. We make everyone feel a part. And that's why when you come from this and you go on other places, you're set up to be successful.
Well, we thank you for being a good human and a great ambassador for Louisiana. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So as we've mentioned tonight, we have the largest turnout ever in the history of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And we've got a big fan base from a certain inductee, Coach Danny Broussard, and his fan club is in the house. So we're gonna head out there and talk to him.
All right, it's Acadiana in the house. All right, well, this next Hall of Famer, like she said, Danny Broussard is an Acadiana legend. I know you can tell. His name is etched in the record books. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look.
For Danny Broussard, the dream was never big. He's just a small-town boy, born and raised in South Leroy. But his career in high school coaching has been nothing short of phenomenal.
Even in the first year, there was a lot of questions, a lot of criticism, and then right out of the bat, he wins a state championship out of nowhere.
See, I compare him to Dale Brown, because although Danny's more of a tactician, but he and Dale Brown got the most out of their players that any basketball coaches ever saw.
In 42 seasons at St. Thomas More High School in Lafayette, the Cougars have made it to the playoffs in 35 straight seasons, advancing to the quarterfinals 32 times and 20 appearances in the state Final Four. He has won 6 state championship boys basketball titles.
He was always high-strung, always energetic, and that showed in his team, and that was a good thing, because if your coach is energetic, your team's gonna feed off of that energy.
Danny is one of only 4 Louisiana prep coaches to reach the 1,000 win milestone in basketball. He ranks among the top 10 nationally for all-time wins, and number 3 in America among active coaches. With these accolades, it's no surprise that in 2025, he was chosen to lead a high school team of McDonald's All-Americans in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.
You know, have an opportunity on the national stage to coach the who's who of high school basketball, to bring them together and show that, hey, this small town coach can bring his philosophy, get those young men to be together to win. He has shown through his tenure, his consistency of winning. That alone makes him a Hall of Famer.
Through it all, Broussard has recognized that the game of basketball was a vehicle for growth, using the sport to teach invaluable life lessons. And he has solidified his place as a giant in the game.
To me, Danny Broussard is to love Danny Broussard. And that's what makes him so effective with his players, with his fans, with everybody he meets.
He always seems to find the solution and a way to win.
He's broken the full court press and is driving down the lane to the bucket. Ladies and gentlemen, Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Danny Broussard.
Get to you in a second. I've been trying to call Lafayette for 4 hours. I cannot get anybody to answer a call in that area. Oh, maybe because you got 20-something tables over here, huh? Congratulations, Danny. How you doing, friend?
Doing awesome, Big. Doing awesome.
Good. With 4 decades under your belt at St. Thomas More, I'm curious, do you still appreciate winning now like you did when you took your 4-H team to a tournament in Kaplan and got your first ever tournament win?
4-H club, head to clear thinking, heart for greater loyalty. Yeah, can you imagine as a high school senior, I'm the president of the 4-H club, and they say, hey, they got a 4-H tournament basketball for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe I can get a team together at Mo, right? It's a basketball school. That's right. So sure enough, we get your guys together. I practice a couple of weeks, go to the tournament, we win it all. I can remember going to school on a Monday morning, proud as could be, carrying that championship trophy to our principal, thinking, this is kind of cool. I like this. And, hey, maybe I can make a career out of this, coaching.
And then things started to move really quickly for you. You had the opportunities to get a job. You're an assistant. You have a chance to work with your brother. Your brother leaves. They're looking at other people, and your brother stands up and says, look, I think he can get it done. Give him a chance. After that happened, when did you know, and when did you step back and say, you know what? I got this. I can do this.
Well, I think after just a year of coaching, I think I thought I could do it. But I think the question would be is not many people around our school said that thought I might have been the right guy, you know. And so luckily for that guy, we just saw Lyle Mouton, Eric Mouton. We had some great players. And I was 26 years old and won the first state championship. And so that kind of solidified me saying like, well, maybe he can get the job done. And, you know, it kind of just went on from there.
And to do it all at one school, we know the reputation and the class that St. Thomas More has, but to be there that long at one school, what has that meant to you?
It's been awesome. You know, you can tell from that crowd out there. That's half of those guys are my basketball players that played for me, that gave their heart and soul and dedicated 4 years of their lives. And you know, it says Danny Broussard on this thing, but I wish I could put those 200 names up there because those are the guys. That's the reason why I'm here. And my 12 assistant, give them a big hand. And my 12 assistant coaches who have been with me through thick and thin, have been so loyal to me over the years, and I really couldn't have done it without them. And Tom Broussard once said that he bled Dodger blue, and I feel like I bleed STM Navy and Maroon.
And I know your Rolodex is long. I know you do a good job of being able to keep it. I'm amazed at how many you keep in touch with, and the players that you remember from years gone by that you still talk to.
Absolutely, we're a family, you know. It's what it's all about. My 3 kids went to St. Thomas More, you know. So it is when people, you know, I know it's a cliche that, you know, we're a family, but it couldn't be more true about St. Thomas More. We really are. I've worked for 8 different principals. They've all been supportive. My 2 athletic directors have been supportive. It takes that kind of support, you know. It takes a village, and that's what we are at St. Thomas More.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because I had a chance to do a story with Danny a couple of months ago for LPB, right before he went to New York to do the McDonald's All-American game. It was great, because one of the things he told me during the interview, he said, you know, those guys are probably so good, I don't think I need to start practice with the dive on the floor for the loose ball drill. We'll skip that and just get to the fun. Yeah. But a lot of that was, you had a chance to go to a Yankees game, you'd never had a chance to do that. Yeah. There you are in the Barclays Center. But what stood out to me was McDonald's All-American said, Danny, you're going to be the head coach. You can go around the country, go bring whoever you want for your coaching staff, come have some fun. And you took your staff.
Yeah, you know, when they called me about it, you know, they were going to ask questions, and so that's one of the things they said, that, you know, in your staff. And, you know, first thing came to my mind was there's so many great coaches in the state of Louisiana, so many guys that made me a better coach because I was scared to get beat by them. And, you know, and they're not in the Hall of Fame yet, and they could be. And I thought about them and said, you know, they'd be great to bring those guys with me. But my second thought was like, you know what, man? I'm taking my staff, because those guys have been with me. I know a lot of people don't know this, but I had triple bypass surgery a year and a half ago, missed 16 games. And those guys took over when I wasn't there, and they went 16-2. I couldn't have done that good if I'd have been there. So, you know, some people say, why don't you just take the rest of the year off? Let these guys finish it off. and they might have done better. We lost in the state championship game. But, yeah, Vic, they've just been so loyal to me, my coaches, and Wesley, Nick. You know what's kind of ironic, too, is that, guess what? The guy that I took his place, Ricky Broussard, he was also on that staff as an assistant, so he kind of got to coach that team that he gave me 40 years earlier. So it was a kind of a unique thing, but it was tough to watch. It was tough to watch because, you know, now with the modern technology, I watched every game. Yep. And I'll tell you a quick story. We're watching a game and the team's pressing us, and man, it's getting tight. And
wait,
yeah,
you say you're going to tell a quick story, and half of Lafayette's laughing. Have y'all have heard that line before? Y'all been around Danny? He goes, I got a quick story. All right, go ahead. Go.
Can I finish?
Go, sure.
So they're pressing. So I told Ricky, hey, have your phone ready because I might want to do something. So it's one of our first games I'm missing. I start to text. Lacey's sitting on this side, Paige, and my wife's there. They're watching the game, and Lacey goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm texting Ricky to tell him what to do. She goes, put the damn phone up. Let your coaches coach. They fine. Well, we won the game by 3 points, and so it was a good deal.
You surround yourself with great people. St. Thomas More and Lafayette is lucky to have you, and so is the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Wherever the post party is, follow Lafayette, everybody, because they're going to have themselves a good time. Head coach Danny Broussard. Danny, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to our final honoree. Any LSU fans in the building? Oh my, I think the Arcadiana fans were a little louder than that. Do we have any LSU fans in the building? All right, well, this next Hall of Famer, he needs no introduction. He took LSU football to the forefront of college football.
You bet your purple. Is this on? They've cut me off. It's about time after 20 years. You bet your purple and gold rear end he did. We got breaking news, which is a first for this ceremony, but the AP preseason college football poll just came out, and our next inductee has his Aflac Fighting Ducks ranked 8th. Unbelievable. Not that surprising. The Ducks have everybody coming back, plus they got a really good coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Saban.
In the world of sports, there is often heated debate over the term greatest of all time. but most agree that when it comes to collegiate football coaches, Nick Saban is indeed the GOAT.
We control it right here.
Nick Saban obviously is the best football coach in college that ever coached.
We create whether we win, we create whether we lose.
You can't recruit the type of players he has without having the ability to connect.
We're going to have an opportunity to win one more, too.
I don't know that I could explain in words alone. I think everybody in Louisiana knows how he pushed his coaches.
We could spend hours listing his accolades and achievements from a coaching career that spanned 4 decades, including 7 college football championship titles. But his connection to the Bayou State is most hinged on that first championship trophy, claiming a BCS national title in 2003.
LSU wins the BCS National Championship.
His vision of what LSU should be and where we should compete at, and where we need to be. I think the expectations that he put into LSU football then is what carry over today.
I was #1 tight end in the country when I signed with LSU. And moving over to defensive end was very, very difficult for me at the age of 17, 18 years old. And I had to trust him kind of blindly. And it turned out to be right. But you would have hundreds of those stories.
We didn't strike the guy. You got to strike him first.
After the 2004 season, Nick had short-lived intentions to carry his coaching success into the NFL. He would eventually land back in the SEC. It was a hard pill to swallow for LSU Tiger fans, building the University of Alabama to becoming a juggernaut of college football.
And what I would like for every football team to do that we play is to sit there and say, I hate playing against these guys.
Being around Coach Saban and playing for Coach Saban, just how good of a leader he is, how consistent he is, and it's earned, not given, when you play for Coach Saban.
I'm so proud of this guy for what he's done this year. I can't even tell you.
Former players, coaches, administrators, media professionals, and even talking ducks have all advanced in their respective career paths thanks to defining character traits that Saban preached every day.
Commitment, discipline, effort, toughness, and pride.
Persistence, attention to detail, and passion.
He has forever changed the landscape of football in America as an advocate for policy regarding college athletics.
High school football, Louisiana puts out the most NFL players per capita, but I think Nick Saban elevated that.
He has had a consistency in his work. He elevates people.
You got to remember how you got here and how hard it was and how tough it was.
Nick Saban's the best there ever was.
Nothing takes the place of seeing the pride that the people have in the state of Louisiana. There's no better feeling that I get when I see that in someone's eyes.
Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest of all time and Louisiana Sports Hall of Famer, Nick Saban.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations, Coach. Good to see you.
Thank you. You know, one thing I'd like to say before I get asked a question is I'd like to thank all the people in the state of Louisiana, the administration at LSU, who gave me an opportunity and trusted and believed in me like nobody else did. It's the first job I ever had at LSU. And I was a pretty underwhelming hire here, if you remember, in the year 2000. Where everybody at the university, from our administrators, Mark Emmerich, the supporters, the board of trustees, everybody at the university, including the fans, sort of bought in and did the things that we need to do to have a successful program. Because you might not remember, but when I took over, we were 3-8. And I always tell the story that, we'd just gone 10-2 at Michigan State, and I was disappointed in our administration there because of their lack of commitment to what we wanted to accomplish and what we wanted to do. So I was interested in the LSU job. So Mark Emmert, Richard Gill, Charlie Weems, Stanley Jacobs comes and meets me in Memphis secretly to interview for this job. And they offered me the job, but I said, I can't take the job. I've never been to LSU before. I don't know what it's like. So, and I can't go for an interview because if they find out publicly at Michigan State that I'm thinking of going someplace else, they'll absolutely crucify me. So I send Miss Terry. This is the God truth. To interview. And Delane Everett, Mark's wife, showed her around for 2 days. They saw billboards of who LSU wanted to hire. My name wasn't on there. But anyway, she spent 2 days, so I called and I say, well, what'd you think? And she said, man, this place needs a lot of work. She said, the stadium's in bad shape. They don't have no academic facilities. They have no academic support center. The players are not doing well academically. She said, you have to get in a bus and ride to practice every day from the campus because the facilities are separated. The coach's offices are in a bank building and very unimpressive. I don't know how you would recruit there. But she said, I went in the weight room today, and they got some damn good-looking players. So that's how I took the job. But then when I got there and I saw what she saw without seeing any players, before I went into press conference, I went in a corner and talked on the phone and I said, Terry, this is not really what I thought it might be after your interview. And she said, put your big boy pants on and get your ass in the press conference and go to work. So that's what we did.
And that's how you got down here. By the way, 4 minutes in, this is the best interview I've ever done. I'm going to go ahead and just put that down right there. When you talk about having the players, one of them, and we just asked him about being here with you as a coach, but your thoughts of the impact of the player like an Andrew Whitworth and the Marcus Spears to how you got to the success so fast in Baton Rouge.
I know Andrew Whitworth's parents have to be proud of him, but there's nobody else in this room more proud of him because he is everything that I ever wanted a player to turn out to be. He's a great person, graduated from school, had a great career at LSU and a great career in the NFL. And, you know, that was always what we tried to establish for our players, is that they were going to have a chance to be more successful in life because they were involved in the program. You know, how we developed them as people, the importance of developing a career off the field, the work and commitment it took to develop a career on the field and have success. And Andrew epitomizes that. But there's a lot of other players that were at LSU that because of his leadership and some of the other fine leadership that we had on the team and with the coaches, but it was the commitment that the university made. The Tiger Athletic Foundation, our administration, you can't get recognized into a Hall of Fame without thanking all the people who contributed to the success that you had. And we had a tremendous amount of support at LSU, and there probably was never a place where I was given an opportunity to be trusted and people bought into what we were trying to do and set the table so that we could do it. And then there was no greater feeling in my life professionally to that point when we won the national championship in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans and saw on some city LSU up there and made everybody in this state proud. And that was my best professional moment to that point in my career.
And the standards that you set, I know it was always tough to come back with Alabama, but you set those standards, you knew what you were going to get out of LSU, and I know the LSU fans will always appreciate what you did, and it's nice to hear how much you appreciated your time in the capital city wearing purple and gold.
Well, I appreciate it, but one thing that I think that I learned is, you know, our first championship was in 2001. We won the SEC championship, and it had been a while since LSU won one, but that was the first championship I ever won. And I think we can apply this to our life. You know, once you accomplish something, it sets a new horizon. It sets a new standard. And then in 2003, when we won the national championship, that set a new horizon and a new standard. And to me, that contributed, and I'm very proud of the fact that that contributed to the iconic brand that LSU has and the state of Louisiana has, because a lot of people in this country look at this state through the athletic programs at LSU. And I think we raised the bar and raised the standard, and Skip Bertman had a lot to do with this because he was the athletic director. And he and I went and raised $15 million in 3 months to build an academic center so our players could graduate. But that was a part of the commitment to success. But I think that all of us, when we get rid of some of the self-imposed limitations that we have, and we accomplish something of significance, maybe small significance, it's a new horizon. And you do it the next time, and it's another new horizon. And then all of a sudden it becomes the standard. It becomes the standard for you, but it becomes the example for a lot of other people. And through transformational leadership and serving other people for their benefit, you can really help other people have a chance to reach those horizons as well. So with that, I appreciate being recognized here, but I'm really, really proud. Every time I see LSU, all the time I coached at Alabama, I know it was a great rivalry, but I was always proud because I felt like we did something to raise the bar here, and the program has been outstanding ever since. So
and that's why he's the best in the business. Head coach Nick Saban, everybody. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you.
Stay right here with me. We're going to bring everybody. I'd like to invite, while Coach is up here, I'd like to invite the entire class of 2025 and all other members of the State Hall of Fame, if you're here in attendance, please come join us on stage.
I want to thank you, Teddy, for allowing me to share the stage with you.
Thank you.
All right, and we thank our friends at LPB and our presenting sponsor at State Farm Insurance Agents of Louisiana.
Cheer one last time for the class of 2025 as they come up here. For Dorothea and everybody involved tonight with the Hall of Fame, this is Teddy Allen. Good night, good sports. See ya.